The MMA Discussion Podcast is brought to you by sportsofanarchy.com. Visit our site for all your sporting news and needs. We're also brought to you by submissionfc.com. Enter the promo code sportsofanarchy10 for 10% off the best Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gear. We're brought to you now by the Flex Belt. Summer's approaching fast. You want to strengthen and tone those abs? The Flex Belt, FDA cleared, might just be for you. And I need one of these. I'm getting flabby and summer's approaching. I just totally need one. Follow the link on the description below. Get your very own. And as well, go to sportsofanarchy.com if you want to know how it works. If you want a really good visual telling of how it helps you out, Chris Paluga, our very own, did a great review on the site. If you want to just go on there, search Flex Belt, I'm telling you, it's a great hookup. I definitely am going to invest in it myself. We're available to listen to on iTunes and the radio podcast app Stitcher, which is available on all smartphone devices. If you're ever on the car, you want to hook us up to the radio, do it. And if you want to avoid any storage unit issues on your phone, Stitcher's the way to go. There's great music bands and podcasts on there that you got to listen to. Of course, give us a rating, give us a like, give us a listen. We appreciate you guys on there anyway. Episode 29. I double checked. That's the one we're on. My host is joining us, Chris Pagman. Chris?
Yo, what's going on, guys? I think it's 29. It might be 28, but I think we're on 29.
I think we're on 29. We're doing a lot these days, but that's a good problem. We're also we also have here with us Jonas.
Yep, I'm back. What's up, guys?
Becoming a mainstay on the show, are you?
Becoming, yeah.
Yeah, after quite a wild weekend, not only in the world of MMA, but of course professional wrestling, which we have to comment on it in just a minute as it pertains to MMA. But let's talk about this first. We want to get this out of the way. Drew Dober getting the no contest call about 3 days ago now, which is good. For a minute, to be honest, it really didn't look like it was going to be changed to that. Chris, you even admit that it probably wasn't going to be put on there, or that it wasn't going to get overturned and changed. Why did you think that?
It just didn't seem like it. Nothing ever gets done right in MMA. It seems like most of the things like this. It seems like they just can't do anything. They can't or won't do anything about this, and they don't want to have to go through all the stipulations and try to get it overturned and do it right. But it didn't seem like they had to do much in Brazil. It only took 12 hours. They got it done. And, I mean, it was the right thing to do. The guy didn't tap, and it was just a weird finish. The ref apparently stepped up, said he messed up the call, and they got it done. I'm just glad the guy didn't get a loss on his record.
Definitely. And, Jonas, I know you and me went back and forth. That was a hard call to watch, to talk about, especially not knowing if they were going to change it. What are your thoughts on him getting the NC call?
Absolutely hard to watch. I think that, and you and I have gone back and forth about believe that the strings were pulled to convince the CEO of Cab MMA to rain down and convince his people to go ahead and overturn the decision that was rendered.
Yeah.
Simply because if a guy from that high up is going to step in this soon, because the last I checked, there wasn't going to be a decision made on that particular fight until April the 6th. So, well over a week before I thought that was going to happen. In a matter of 12 hours and 1 day, it goes down. Now, the reason why I say that is that I saw so many scenarios in which certain entities, I won't name them, could have had some influence. And mentioned that, hey, if you want to treat our fighters this way, we kind of have no reason to come back down to Brazil. I think that had a big part of it. Just a humble opinion. I think that had a huge part of it, and money talks. So the right decision was made, yes. Was it influenced in a way that it probably shouldn't have been? That it could have, kind of been made to seem as if it was tampering? Sure. But sometimes things like that need to happen.
Oh, yeah,
it's the lesser of two evils in my mind. So
yeah, it definitely sounds like a reasonable thing to say. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all if the UFC decided to say something like that, because they really, I mean, Brazil has a lot of big stars over there, but they could just threaten it without even meaning it, and I'm sure the commission will be like, oh, okay, because they're not like it's not like the Vegas commission where it's like strict and the commission runs boxing and everything like that. The Brazilian MMA commission is just a small time thing, and they could just threaten, all right, you guys don't want to make money, we'll be out of here soon.
Yeah, I don't even think that commission would exist without the UFC. I mean, they run other Brazilian promotions out there like Jungle Fights and Pancrase and Vale Tudo out there. But let's be real, that's not the big money maker out there for Brazil. And I think if, like, say the UFC decided not to go there for like 2 years, you know how much of a big hurting that would do on their wallets? It would be bad. And not only along with this call, but the Brazilian Commission has also decided that this referee, I forget his name, but I don't even want to say his name, but this referee is going to get a refresher course, which I've never heard of, but it's supposed to be he's going to be retrained in being a ref, which is good. He certainly needs that. I certainly think that more refs need to be humble enough to admit when they make a mistake. I don't believe he admitted he made a mistake on his own accord, but
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was just about to go there. If I may interrupt, I'm sorry, Nick, but
go ahead.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
I think that whole because there was no provision in the existing rules until this fight. I think that Eduardo Hardy was basically fed a statement. They made him say that he made a mistake. Because again, somebody made the chief operating officer of CAB MMA to come down on them. So if that guy's getting his arm twisted, that guy's twisting everybody else's arms to do what needed to happen. So I don't believe for a second that Eduardo Hardy his own volition to say that he made a mistake, because he had 5 days to do that. He had Saturday, he had Sunday, he had Monday, he had Tuesday, he had Wednesday. Thursday, all of a sudden, he says he made a mistake. Something's fishy. Sorry.
Yeah, definitely. And
yeah, no, that's definitely a valid point to make. And I heard, like, what seemed a little fishy is everyone was showing pictures of the ref training with I forget what the guy's name is. The guy who actually
Leandro Silva.
The fight. So that was a little bit fishy too, but nothing really came up about that.
Leandro Silva is the guy that lost the win in this decision. So yeah.
Yeah, actually, I got to say this. After doing some research on it, that actually isn't Leandro Silva. That's a guy named Leandro Silva, but it's not the fighter that fought.
Yeah, it didn't look like the same guy. Honestly, it didn't look like the same guy.
Yeah, no, it's not him. It's been confirmed that wasn't him. So, I mean, that whole thing with him training with the ref was actually not true. So,
okay, then scratch that from the...
Yeah, scratch that from all existence.
Even when I looked at the picture, it didn't look like him.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter anyway. It's still, no matter how you look at it, that was just a horrible call. And I'm glad that for once, a horrible call is justifiably overturned. The way that it's neat, there are so many bad calls in throughout the history of MMA that some of them just kind of stick and they're bad. I was brought to attention to some bad ones, but I can't compare them to how bad that one was. I mean, that's really not at fault for the fighter at all. First, Drew Dauber didn't deserve to lose that fight. Silva didn't deserve to win that fight. And what bugs me about Silva is he actually is like bummed about having it changed to a no contest. He's like, I don't think that should be changed. I'm like, oh, shit, just shush, hush. Just no. You can't be saying you won that fight. You didn't win that fight. You can't. I mean, his main arguing point is, oh yeah, he went limp on me. How do you know he wasn't just relaxing? He was in a certain spot where you were holding his neck down. Why not just relax and be like, okay, I'm in a dominant position now. I'm not gonna get tapped. I'm fine. I'll just take a breather, your muscles relax. Of course, that's going to feel like a guy's going limp on you, but he knows he's full of shit. And so I'm glad that got overturned. And again, also congratulations to Drew Dauber. He's getting another fight already. He's going to fight Efrain Escudero at UFC 188 in Mexico City. Good fight right there. I like that fight. And Efrain needs a fight, and I've actually been excited seeing his improvements over at the MMA Lab? Yeah, with John Crouch and Benson Henderson and them guys. And good thing that Drew Dauber gets another chance to really just kind of fix that from history books at this point and just get another fight in quick right off the bat. Speaking of UFC 188, another fight. Our last podcast, we had UFC lightweight Johnny Case on the podcast. We want to say thank you again for him coming on. That was an awesome interview. He gets his wish. He's going to be fighting. Who's that guy he called out? Who did he want?
Francisco Trevino.
Francisco Trevino. He's gonna get his wish. He called for that fight. He asked for it, and he got his wish. He's gonna fight him at UFC 188. That's a fight to watch, man.
Yeah, we definitely wish him the best of luck over here.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
UFC 188 is starting to pile on. I'm actually also eager when it gets near the 3-month target when they're gonna start stacking up UFC 189, and that tour is getting very interesting. There's a lot of.
Have you guys been watching the embedded for that?
Yeah, there's been a lot of. Well, I have. I don't know if Jonas has. Have you?
No, I haven't seen much of it.
Yeah,
I do know that
it's pretty funny.
Oh yeah, it's hilarious. Connor's being the whole wily self that he is. It's pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
You know, my favorite thing that he did was when Jose Aldo was doing a photo shoot thing, and he asked this lady to hold his belt, and then Connor found her, and then say, "Hey, let me see the belt." And then he went to the door that had like a window on it, and he went to it, and he was holding Aldo's belt at the window, and he's like, "Come get it, come get it, come get it."
Yo, he's been going after him on interviews, all over TV on Fox. He's been going at him. And then I saw when they did that face-off in Boston, I think it was, Dana was separating them and holding Conor back, and Conor like arm dragged him.
Yeah, it was pretty. It's getting pretty heated. Conor knows what's up. I believe he's selling the shit out of this fight. He's doing a great job doing it.
Oh yeah, but I also think I feel like Conor's getting his head a little bit. I don't know if it's gonna be a good thing or a bad thing for Jose, but he's getting angry, so I don't know how that will affect the fight.
We'll see. I mean, shit. When he looks angry and he's fighting angry, it doesn't seem like technique is totally thrown out the window. And matter of fact, it makes him seem like he's a more dangerous fighter. I think the Chad Mendez fight is a perfect example of a very aggressive forward-coming.
But I don't think anyone's gotten him this angry ever before.
Oh, it's gonna be awesome. I think personally, I think Aldo wins. I believe Jonas has the same opinion as me that Aldo probably wrecks Conor here. Now, I personally think Conor is a really great fighter. I was explaining to Jonas in another conversation at one point that Conor actually has this very, very beautiful striking style. He's got this very rare one that you rarely ever see in MMA, in which it was actually used a lot in old school boxing, like in the 70s, 80s, even probably earlier, called shifting. And it's very strange because of his stance and because of how long his reach is that he's able to utilize it as good as he is, especially with his counter striking. So I believe he's one of the better strikers in that division. I think overall, though, Aldo's striking is actually going to be too much for him. I think there are some weak points in Conor's, not only his stance, but in that style that Aldo will be able to really capitalize and take advantage on. And I think that Aldo probably wins that in the second round. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't actually know yours. What's yours, Chris?
The stance is very similar to like a point fighting, like karate, taekwondo kind of stance.
Kind of, but the reason he does that actually is because he wants to be able to, have what's called flex footing, which when you're backing up really fast, but at the same time you're so light on your feet. Like if you throw a kick, you'd actually be able to have good balance. And and you're right. Kickboxers and taekwondo guys use that a lot, but it's not what I would call a taekwondo stance, because kickboxers and kickboxing use it in the when they're tall and they're actually able to utilize it, especially if they want to level down to their opponent, which I think Conor is the taller guy. I'm not going to break down
the whole Conor Aldo fight, but I want to see Conor come out with the win just because I think it'll be so much more fun for the division. But even if Aldo loses, it's going to make him a bigger star. I mean, if Aldo wins, it's going to make him a bigger star just fighting Conor. And I don't know. I can see it playing out in a lot of different ways.
Jonas, your last thoughts on this one?
I think that Aldo's striking is just, as we both said, it's too much for Conor. Conor's not a bad fighter at all. Conor has basically gotten where he is based on his ability to market himself. And is there something wrong with that? Not really. When you're looking at the big picture. If you look at the business, he knocked some people out. I don't know if he's knocked anybody out worth knocking out to get a title shot, but he's knocked people out. You know?
Yeah, I mean, he could have not. He could have took out one more guy, but people act like Poirier is not a big enough name. Poirier was a pretty good up there guy.
I don't think he was a big enough name to win a title shot, and
maybe not, but there's obvious reasons why he's getting it, and I think.
Well, it's the timing of it all. I mean, to put it on the biggest, to put it on historically the biggest card of the UFC's year, which is of course in July 4th card. Historically has always been the biggest thing to do, and it makes sense putting it with International Fight Week. Him being such a sellable fighter.
Aside from the fact that it's going to sell very well, if Conor wins, it's huge for the UFC, and if he loses, Aldo gets more marketability, and it can possibly make him to a much bigger star.
That's certainly a silver lining. Yeah, that's certainly a silver lining for me that I've always thought. Okay, Aldo really benefits more so out of this. I think more than anybody. Conor's always going to be a sellable fighter. Conor also happens to know this is the biggest fight of his career, and he wants as many eyes on it as he can possibly get. And I believe that there certainly will be more so in this fight than any fight he's ever going to have, I think. I don't think that there will be a fight like this, as big as this, in his career for a while at least, not until somebody else comes in the reins.
Unless he wins and he decides to move up the lightweight, it's possible.
Oh, definitely. Actually, yeah, that's right. I don't see that happening, but that's a possibility. We'd see if that could happen. I'd be very surprised if it did. Like I say, yeah, I think Conor is always going to remain at the top of that division, at least in the top 5. And certainly, at first I was bummed that he got it over Frankie, but now we're getting Frankie Faber, so I can't complain anymore. So, because that's another great fight for the fans that we all get to watch, and that's gonna be a fun one. And I personally can't wait for that. That's gonna be. Yeah. I think that's one of the ones I'm looking most forward to this year, next to that fight, as well as, of course, Johnson Jones. There's a lot of great fights coming in this spring season. I love it.
I'm just moving on to the next topic. I'm not sure if we were going to discuss this, but I got to bring it up.
Go ahead.
I really just hope 187 and 189 stay intact.
Okay.
TJ Dillashaw just got injured.
Yeah.
He's out of the main event of UFC 186 against Renan Barão. I think we should definitely talk about that.
The injury, yeah. TJ got a busted rib, but it should only keep him out for 5 weeks, according to the doctor. So that's not too bad. He could end up being fighting at 190. I wouldn't be surprised actually putting him in Brazil with Renan Barão, maybe the co-main. That makes sense.
They're gonna want to push it back that far
till August. I don't know. I mean, let's see, 5 weeks from now. That's what, May,
like the first week of May.
Yeah, well, I mean, what other card could you add it to? I mean, it's not like you could put it to 189. I mean, maybe 188, but I don't see why they would put it in Brazil. There's not a very marketable angle in putting it in Mexico City. So yeah, I think they probably would push it all the way.
Mexico.
Huh? Yeah, I think they would. I think that makes the best sense to put Renan back in Brazil. Make that. I mean, it'd make for a great second fight, especially if he won. I don't think that he will, but yeah, I think they push it all the way back at least to 190.
Have they said if they're gonna have a replacement for Barão?
Nah. What is it? They offered Barão. This is according to Dana. They offered Barão another matchup, and they said no, they'll wait for the title, and Dana said, all right, that's cool.
Did they ever mention against who it was?
No, they didn't. He didn't say who he offered him or anybody. So it would have been interesting. I really would have liked to,
What's the matter? I didn't hear you, sorry.
I would have liked to have seen who they would have pitted him up against. Personally, it would have been cool to see him fight Brian Caraway.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah, I was saying the same thing. We spoke about this earlier week.
For obvious reasons, that's why I would have liked to see that. But I think that goes back to 190.
That would be
that's
one
unfortunate.
of the few times I'd be rooting for Renan Barão there, definitely. But yeah, as we were saying, obviously this card wasn't the strongest card, despite having 2 title fights on it.
I think it's strong enough. I think it's not like
it was. I mean, it's not. I'm not saying it's a bad card, but for having 2 title fights on it, those are usually really big cards.
Yeah.
And in comparison, it was probably the weakest card with 2 title fights on it, or one of them.
Yeah, I think it'll do all right. I mean, you got guys like Quentin Jackson on there, Michael Bisping.
Yeah, but it's still not like a. It's nothing. It's nothing too special. I mean,
I'll say that.
DJ versus Horiguchi, I expect that to be a pretty good blowout for DJ. Rampage versus Maldonado, I mean, yeah, that's not a pay-per-view co-main event. I mean, Rampage is a big name, but that's not a co-main event of a pay-per-view. Bisping versus Holloway, that could turn out to be all right, but also, I mean, it's not. A lot of the fights on the main card aren't really like pay-per-view caliber fights.
I guess it's depends on who you ask, but yeah, I guess.
I mean, if this card was on a Fox card, I wouldn't be. It looks like a Fox card.
I guess to each his own. I'm certainly think that I'll enjoy it, and man, if Horiguchi.
I mean, Demetrius Johnson was the king of Fox there, about him and Benson Henderson, and then you have fights.
Yeah, certainly.
Below it that aren't the greatest, but they have some name value. So yeah, I think it does look like the Fox card.
Yeah, that's true. There are Rampage, Bisping. Those are always name value guys. You got people interested in seeing Rampage come back. You got Britain fans always wanting to watch Bisping get in there. So
yeah, I mean their relative fights, like their relative fights for their relative fights for closer to the bottom of their divisions, but they're not like fights where the co-main event is a title eliminator or something like that. So I mean it's not a bad card by any means. There's good fights on there, and it's worth watching if you're a fan. But I mean, it doesn't compare to any of the cards coming out.
Be that way then.
Would you compare UFC 186 to 187, 188?
No, I mean there's no comparison.
Especially 187 and 189 because they both have two title fights on there.
Yeah, what 189 is to be determined. Because they only have those two fights.
Does 189 have Conor versus Aldo and
Robbie and Rory, but those are the only fights on there right now. There's no other fights added to that card, so I mean that's to be determined. 187 is incomparable.
Has two very good title fights on there, so I'm already pretty happy with that card.
Yeah, who wouldn't be? But as far as 187, I think it's incomparable to any card right now, and that's why I am interested in seeing like what fights they do add to 189. They haven't added anything, and I want to know what they will add. I can't wait until
I'm
the season
pretty
comes
sure they're not going to leave that card with like not that great of.
If they can stack it up the way that they have with 187, that would be great.
No, I think they're going to do it like that because
I hope
that's one of their biggest cards of the whole year, if not their biggest. So I mean, I'm not going to be surprised if they do stack that to the deck, and I'll be happy about it. I mean, 186 is not the most appealing card to me, even with the TJ Barao fight. I mean, I'll watch it, but I mean, when I look at 187 and 189, those two title fights on each of those cards compared to when this card had two title fights, not even close.
I will definitely. I was excited, of course, more so for TJ and Demetrius Johnson. I always love watching that guy fight. He does great things every single fight. It is unfortunate. It doesn't have an angle. The problem with each of his fights is it doesn't have an angle in which you really believe that the challenger, at least lately, that the challenger will put up a fight. That's the thing, and that's unfortunate. But at the same time, it's a feeling that no one gets. Like when TJ's gonna fight Barao, there is a possibility Barao could come in there a totally different fighter from the first one and beat TJ, in which that'd be a crazy moment to watch. With Johnson Jones, for obvious reasons, that's an amazing fight. Weidman Vitor, another one for obvious reasons, that's an amazing fight that people got to see. Conor Aldo, of course. Robbie Rory, a rematch that people definitely want to see. The Johnson Horiguchi just doesn't have that, and it's unfortunate because I believe they're giving Horiguchi too soon. But again, I believe that division was traffic jam the second John Lineker decided to beat another contender, and then just jump ship to the division upwards because he couldn't stop eating donuts. It's totally unfair to the division. I really loathe Lineker for that move. I really dislike him as a fighter because of that. It really bums me out that that he pulled that stunt so many times, allowed himself to be ranked so highly, and then kind of just starts that division with what he's done to it. Essentially, it bugs the crap out of me, and so I hope at bantamweight he gets mollywopped at this point. I really.
Yeah, I mean, with DJ, we haven't really seen him be in any trouble since the John Dodson fight, really.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'd be looking forward just if we had someone come in there who can give him a challenge. Like we have, even with Barao, when he was dominating people, beating them, finishing them all, and then we have Dillashaw come in there, and even though he dominated him, he did it in a way that was exciting to watch, and it was like unbelievable because his contender that was such an underdog
Definitely
came in there and just destroyed him with terrific technique, and just it was beautiful. And even though DJ has such great technique, he's never like it's never anything that you don't expect from him. You expect him to beat these guys, and you expect him to not have too much difficulty doing it. With the Dodson fight, we saw him get dropped multiple times. You know, like, oh, he's in danger. It's like exciting.
Yeah, and Dodson's coming back from injury. He will be on that 187 card against Zach Makovsky, and that's certainly a fight to watch. Especially if Dodson can get another knockout or win, he'll probably get that rematch. Which, you know, I would be interested. That would easily be the next exciting fight at flyweight. Dodson's one of the most exciting, most marketable fighters at 125. So certainly that rematch would do good, and it would definitely give Demetrius another fine paycheck. But I think DJ's getting these paychecks nicely being in the headliner. You know, I don't know if you get paid more or less for being in the co-main or main, but I would think that it certainly helps him each time, because this is the second time because of an injury that he's gotten a main event slot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't believe it does affect their pay grade because they get paid a certain amount based on their win. So he's not getting pay-per-view points for that, but when he does do a pay-per-view, in their contract, if they do have pay-per-view points, it's in there how much of a percentage they make off of it. So it's not really going to change if he's in the headliner or if he's in the bottom of the pay-per-view. So that's not really going to affect anything, but he's still bringing home a good amount of money regardless.
I hear you.
All right.
We also had a great weekend in fights. Friday and Saturday, Bellator 135 and World Series of Fighting 19.
Yeah, definitely. Let's get to those.
Some good fights, man. First of all, Ryan Couture, the son of obvious legend Randy the Natural Couture, coming in and took on Dakota Cochran and got busy. Immediately took it to the ground, got the back cinch. I think that's his third rear naked choke submission victory in a row since being cut by the UFC. Impressive performance. I actually asked him soon after that fight to come out of the podcast, and fingers crossed, hopefully we'll get him on. I think he's finding a nice home in Bellator. He certainly looks impressive. He's able to hang with these lightweights, and I don't know. We'll see how he does. I think if he gets one or two more good fight performances like that, he's looking at a chance at Will Brooks at that title at least.
Yeah.
Whoever holds it at that point in time.
Yeah, he's definitely.
Jonas, did you watch these fights?
Title. Did you say?
I'd like to see him.
Did you see them? You did see them, right?
Yeah.
What did you think of Ryan Couture's performance?
I thought that was awesome, and I'd love to see him fight Michael Chandler before he gets anywhere else.
Oh, yeah, that'd be a good one. That would be a good one. Michael Chandler has a fight coming up, but if he wins that and then pit him and Couture, yeah, he has a fight coming up. I believe 137 or 38. I can't
remember. He's fighting on the. Yeah,
it should be on 137.
Coming up. Yeah.
It's the one with Shamrock. He's fighting on Shamrock and Kimbo.
Simba Spice. That's right. Him and who is he fighting? Who's he fighting?
Oh, I couldn't tell you.
Derek Campos.
Oh, okay. I've seen him.
Is that who it is? Derek Campos, maybe?
Yeah. Oh, let me see. Yeah. If you can't confirm it.
Yeah. Go on and book that one then. Ryan Couture and Michael Chandler.
If Chandler gets the win, certainly put them together. I would love to see it.
Yes, sir. I'm pretty sure it's Derek Campos. Michael Chandler is fighting Derek Campos. Bellator 138.
38. Yeah, Simba Spice versus the Mr. Shamrock. I'm actually going to be going on to another podcast soon, and I know that they're going to ask me about that fight because one of the guys running that podcast is a huge fan of Kimbo, and he says he's going to ask me about it, and I told him he's probably not going to like what I'm going to say about it, only because it's just such an awkward fight to me. It's a fight no one asked for, no one expected, but it's so odd that everybody just knows that people are going to watch it. It's so weird, right? It's just one of those taboo things that, hey, why not watch that? It's.
Dude, I mean, that has all the marketability in the world at this point, even though they're old as shit.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's so weird. It's just one of those things where you'll watch it.
Yeah. And they were supposed to fight each other at Elite XC back in the day, and
7 years ago,
both huge names in the sport. So regardless of anything, that's going to do views.
It is, but man,
that's strictly for the casuals out there. And hey, you got to take care of the casuals too. They invest. It's all the same money, so it's all the same ratings, no matter who watches it. So yeah, I say go ahead, fluff it up for the casuals. Much love to them. Make it happen. It's all good.
Fluff it up, fluff it.
Yeah, and that's on Spike TV, home of the not so bright most of the times.
Oh, talking more shit, are you? All right.
Yeah.
All right.
See, I was trying to be nice about it, man. I thought
they play cops on there. Their lead into Bellator is usually cop.
Mm-hmm.
So that tells you the type of people.
Awesome.
I mean, no, I watch some Spike TV. I get down with some Spike TV every once in a while, but I'm not on there watching cops. I'm on there watching Bellator and maybe some Bar Rescue, but that's it.
Yeah, I watched Bar Rescue. I, of course, watched Glory, and then Bellator made the smart move of getting
Glory
boxing.
and Bellator and Bar Rescue. That's what I'm there for. I'm not watching cops.
What I do like that Bellator. What I do like that Spike TV.
I know, but I'm not there watching cops getting all happy when I see, oh shit, Kimbo and Shamrock are fighting.
Yeah.
What I do like that Spike TV has done is they've now incorporated a Premier Championship boxing onto their program, which is great. Now they're gonna put boxing on there, so now you get the trifecta. You get boxing, kickboxing, and MMA on that channel. So I'm sure that the popularity has gone up in there. So good for them. I mean, it certainly works out.
Let me ask you this: was there talk of Joe Schilling wanting to do Premier Championship boxing as well? He wanted to be Spike's first.
I don't know about that, but I wouldn't doubt it. That bad motherfucker.
He was talking about it on Rogan.
Really?
Yeah, he said he wants to be Spike's first triple sport athlete. So he said that once the news of PCV coming to Spike. So I don't know.
Joe Schilling is a bad motherfucker, man.
That was about a month ago.
A whole different game.
That dude, man. Right. He makes everybody.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the Ryan Couture fight, I mean, that fight, I didn't really expect anything else out of that. I mean, Dakota Cochran's okay, but I expected Ryan to get the win. And
yeah, I mean, I expected a better fight. I certainly expected a better fight from Cochran. He's pulled some upsets in his career, and you never knew. You really don't know with him. But of course, Ryan. Yeah, Ryan getting it done, and that was a great performance. And Ryan Couture, if you're listening, we would love to have you on. We'll move on to the next one. What was it? Francis Carmon taking on Guilherme Viana, Brazilian light heavyweight Bellator fighter. Carmon basically did what we expected him to, and it's surprising. He did it at 205. He's moving a division up. Maybe that's the healthier way for him to go, being as big as he is. He was always referred to as a huge middleweight. Maybe he's just tone out and keep the diet to a minimum. And I think that's probably a smart move.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have a chance to catch this card live, and I went back and watched most of the fights on the main card, but I asked Nick before coming on, I'm like, should I watch the Carmon fight? Are we going to talk about it much? He tells me, I'm like, what happened in the fight? Did anything good happen? He's like, I basically GSP'd him. I'm like, oh, so I'm definitely not watching that.
Yeah. Viana had a good round. I believe he won one round. Francis Carmon basically
I
did what Francis
definitely
Carmon
watched that.
does, and that's put a guy on his back, get on top, make it a fight, make it his fight, control it. So it was very good performance on Francis' part.
But I'm still not watching it.
You're still not all right. Well, I
If it
watched
comes
it.
on
I
the
thought it was
podcast,
fantastic.
I'll watch it.
Yeah.
Well, we're trying to get him to come on the podcast.
I know. What's the matter with you? What's the matter, Francis? Wait, we'll kick him off and. I know, Francis. If you're listening, we'll kick him off. He doesn't have to be here. He's expendable.
Shit.
I personally,
Francis, if you're listening,
it was a great fight.
I
in
will
my
watch
opinion.
your fight if you come on the podcast.
Yeah. By the way, you heard him say I didn't tell you not to watch it. I told you. I actually did tell you to watch it.
He told me. I'll show you.
All right. I said what I said. I said he basically GSP'd him.
No, he told me. He said, "Don't watch it."
I didn't say
Don't
that.
watch it.
Oh, now you're just throwing shit in my mouth.
Who comes out?
I know. What? I didn't say that. Now you're being. Now you're.
No, he didn't. He actually
You're a
didn't
liar,
say
fibber,
it.
faker right now.
I'm definitely not telling the truth.
And, see. Oh man, I'm telling you, Francis Carmon. It was a great performance. Not even to him. I watched it. It was a great performance. It was a great fight by Vienna as well. And I think Carmon does good at 205 with the lack of competition in the upper weight classes. I think bringing in some guys like Carmon actually makes sense because they can fill out that division. Not only that, I feel like these guys really have a chance to refresh their careers in these heavier weight classes that are very shallow right now. And so I think Carmon could potentially find a good home here at 205 in Bellator. With that being said, we'll move on to the co-main event of the night: LC Davis versus Hideo Takoro. I believe was. Did I say that right?
Yeah,
Hideo Takoro. Yeah. That was a great fight too. That was really one of the funner fights of the night for me. LC Davis looking legit as he always has. What was it? I know you just recently watched it, Chris. What did you think of that fight?
Yeah, I mean, it was fun. I mean, we saw LC Davis look strong in the first two rounds. Takoro was going for a bunch of submissions off his back. He was definitely really active, but on the feet, Davis would look like he was getting the better of him. Takoro was going, like, if you know MMA and you see this guy, like, he gets knocked down, he's sweeping for, like, just looking for the leg, looking for a heel hook, knee bar, whatever the hell he's looking for. And he was active. I mean, that's a fun fight to watch. When a guy gets knocked on their back and they're active, or if they're just getting taken down and they're active off their back, that's always fun to watch, especially me because I play guard. So, I mean, I understand. But it was really fun to watch. Takoro even came back, looked pretty good in that third round, controlled most of it, and almost got tapped there at the end by a pretty tight guillotine. So, I mean, it was a really fun fight, and I thought the right man won.
Oh, definitely. Jonas, who'd you have it going into that going into the scorecards?
I agreed with the judges.
Yeah, me too.
The majority, that is. I agree with the majority of the judges. And, it was a great fight. Takaro just had no quit in him whatsoever, which was awesome to see. And LC Davis also took a nasty up kick.
Oh, yeah.
Which was legal.
Yeah.
It was completely legal.
That was legal. That was legal, son.
That's what I said. It's completely legal. Completely legal.
It wasn't even questionable in my eyes.
I mean, it's kind of the eye test there. Maybe he, I don't know. He was getting his knee down. It was close, but it was legal on the replay. But, I mean, that's fractions of a second.
I don't know. I saw it. I felt like his knee was right up there. Yeah.
The ref did see it. He saw it after, I guess, taking it over when they broke him up or whatnot. But I remember the ref talking to Takoro and saying, hey, it was legal. Or you saw him to Davis saying, yeah, it was legal. It was his knee was on the way down, so it's all good.
I had the right man winning it. At the end of the night, I was talking to some fight fans, and they were telling me that they thought Takoro won, and I was like, I didn't see a secondary round where he won. So, but it was certainly a competitive fight. I could see why it was close. But yeah, at the end of the night, I had LC Davis winning it. Move on to the main event. That main event, wow, title change of hand. Joe Warren versus Marcus Galboa. That was wow! What a knee bar submission in the second round. I personally, I've actually been in a knee bar that injured me, and let me tell you what, knee bars suck so bad. And but I'll also say this: that was a valid submission. Joe Warren can say that it wasn't, but that was. I think that was.
No, once you scream, it's a tap, a verbal tap.
Yeah, they tell you that in the back. They tell you. They sit you down. They're like, okay, if you get if you scream loud, if it sounds like you're about to like lose some ligaments or something, I'm gonna stop it. You know, and
dude, you could be a tough dude, but I mean, you might not want to. You might want to keep fighting, but if you scream like that, it's done.
Yeah, exactly. Especially because instead of, you know, if your reaction is to scream instead of, oh, wait.
If not that tough, there's a reason why they scream. So if they're screaming, the fight needs to end.
Yeah, knee bars are one of the worst.
And secondly, I saw recently that Joe Warren sent out a tweet to John McCarthy basically saying that, you know, it was you did the right thing after rewatching it. Joe, listen, dude, you were there. That was your leg in that knee bar. That was your mouth that yelled and screamed. You know why you screamed. You didn't have to rewatch anything to see that. So,
yeah, but once you get the adrenaline pumping, sometimes you just go into the zone so much that you don't even know what's going on.
There are times, a lot of guys go into autopilot. It's happened to me once.
Yeah, and, I've seen it. And funny thing is that I was just recently having a discussion with one of my buddies who I train with about knee bars. He's just like, knee bars don't exist. Just go for the heel hook. Knee bars are like he despises knee bars.
I do too, but for certain other reasons.
Just go for the heel hook. Whenever you get the knee bar, just set it up for the heel hook. Short
story, I did a jiu-jitsu tournament in 2012, and like in spring of 2012, and man, I had made it to the finals. I was a blue belt at the time, and it was a blue belt portion of this tournament. It was all blue belts, me and this other guy, and we make it to the finals. And about 10 minutes in, he finally gets me to the almost 10 minutes in, he gets me to the ground. We scramble a lot, and there's a part where he's able to get me in I go before this, actually around the 6-minute mark, I took him down, and his hip landed on my hand and fractured my hand right then and there. And then about 3 minutes later, he finds himself in the knee bar position, and he just brought back on that sucker like he was the Ronda Rousey of knee bars. It was so bad. I was in crutches for 2 weeks after that. Knee bars suck. I hate them. Ever since then, I've always said it. I'll never get put in one of those again because they suck. They're painful. They're worse than arm bars in my opinion. No, there's never been a single arm bar I've ever been put in that hurt as much as that one did. That knee bar, you know. And Jonas was telling, he had like a good an anatomical reason for why you said. Can you say it again? Is he on?
Oh yeah, you know, bigger joints, man.
Yeah.
If you think about it, you know, bigger joints, bigger ligaments. They're harder to tear, but at the same time, if you got bigger ligaments, you got more material to tear. So, ouch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A broken finger. Go ahead, Chris.
No, keep going.
No, you can break a finger. Yeah, that hurts. You know, try breaking a leg.
Yeah.
And think about all. Yeah.
It's so bad, man. I hated it.
We saw Galvao when he had it, and then he torqued on it, and then you saw Warren scream.
Yeah, he didn't realize how bad the positioning he was in. He didn't realize that he was in such a bad position until Galvao decided to just crank the shit out of it.
Right, yeah. And he torqued that thing, and that was it. It was a wrap.
Yeah. Props to the new bantamweight Bellator champion, Marcus Galvao. Can't wait to see him again. I mean, if he fights soon, I would love to watch him fight. A guy with skills like that, always fun to watch.
Yeah, definitely.
There was another card this weekend, World Series of Fighting 19, that had a lot of controversy surrounding it. First off,
should we start with that Teddy Holder?
Yeah, actually, let's.
Woo!
What a Rocky story right there. Actually, honestly, it's really what it is.
The story.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so this is the gist of it. Is this Matt Hamill?
You know, he gets the fight in a matter of hours
Hours.
We definitely gotta explain how this fight came to fruition, though.
Yeah, Matt Hamill made weight. He made weight. Comes in. The fight with Silva's still on. The next morning, Saturday morning, he goes to freaking IHOP and got supposed food sickness. Something. He wasn't able to compete. So in a matter of about like 12 hours, if that, less than that probably, they asked Teddy Holder to come out from the prelims and take on Thiago Silva in a light heavyweight title eliminator that would put him against the winner of Ronnie Marks and World Series of Fighting middleweight champ David Branch, who also stepped up to compete in this tournament. He's going to try and attempt to become a bi-champion. But Teddy Holder gets this opportunity of a lifetime to take on Thiago Silva in the co-main event of World Series of Fighting, and goes in there and absolutely puts the thwapping on Thiago Silva in the first round. And he just basically stood toe to toe with the guy. And you know, historically that's never been smart with Thiago, but he did it, and he ate his shots, but hung in there and then put Thiago down. And once he had him down, he unloaded on him, and of course now he's one fight away from becoming the inaugural World Series of Fighting light heavyweight champion. That's pretty crazy.
Dude, this guy Teddy Holder just went in there. It wasn't the most technical thing ever. We'll say that. We'll definitely all agree on
he stood
that.
toe to toe with him. Essentially, he just banged.
Yeah, no, this dude just walked. He was just walking Thiago Silva down. Thiago Silva was throwing some nasty leg kicks. He just ate them, kept moving forward. He was throwing some punches. He even dropped Holder real quick for a second and looked like he was going to have an easy night work for him. But this dude was just walking forward, throwing some bombs. Like, he was leaving his chin out there. He was getting hit. He was just kept moving forward, throwing some short hooks. And eventually he caught Thiago with a big punch, dropped him, and then just went after him. And this dude was throwing bombs, this hairy-ass dude. He was just in there. He was just straight up. Dude, this guy looked like a teddy bear, but he was just he had some heavy ass. This dude had some heavy hands, and just, I mean, he put it to him, and props to him. I mean, that was a great performance by him, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in his next fight.
God, so am I.
Dude, caveman on him, bro. That's what happened. He went straight up caveman. Neanderthal him.
Yeah. Man, what a timely story for him, and now he's got the opportunity of a lifetime. Man, he legit has an opportunity in his second fight of World Series of Fighting to win a title, which he wasn't even a thought not hours ago going into that fight of ever winning a belt. Now he has the opportunity.
What's that dude's record?
What is his record? I know they said it, but I can't remember. I'll look it up. But again, what a story. I mean, what a upset. And that's just, again, I've been saying it for
9-1.
He's 9-1. Wow.
He lost his second fight via first round armbar. He's finished every single fight in the first round.
That just kind of, I mean, that's telling of the way he fought this fight. I mean, he seems to be a guy that goes forward and gives no shits and comes at you. And if he puts you down, he's gonna get on top of you. He's gonna maul your ass. Certainly.
Dude, of course, this guy's straight out of Tennessee. That's no surprise. This guy is straight from the South.
Giver of no fucks was he in this fight.
He has 7 knockouts or TKOs, 2 submissions, and that's it. Yeah, he just.
I can't wait to see what happens. It's honestly funny because for me, it's become a thing now where I'm more excited for this light heavyweight tournament. Like there was a thing about it where I wasn't excited to, or I wasn't too amped to see Thiago and Hamill fight again. But this new spin on it with Holder coming in and beating Silva and advancing, it actually gives it like more of a different taste that I actually enjoy. Like I'm actually excited to see who wins the next fight, who takes Holder on. I mean, this literally could not have worked out any better for Teddy. I mean, he legit the stars aligned for him here because he's so lucky at this point to have this fight, and now could potentially win a belt. Has probably brought more spark and flair to this tournament than there was before. And so, with that all being said, I can't wait to see how this whole tournament plays out. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting, and I can't wait. What were your thoughts on it, Jonas? What did you think of that fight? I don't know if we asked you.
Yeah, that fight was off the chain, man.
Off the chain.
Off the chain. Off the chain. You know,
I
think that I think World Series in general is just making a name for themselves just on that card alone. That was just great stuff.
Let's talk about that main event. Let's also talk about how great that main event was. That was wow. And I was saying it. Luis Palomino, I told you guys, that guy, no joke. Comes in there, he's so exciting. He's also one of those guys that just really, puts on an exciting performance every time out. And man, those guys beyond delivered. That was one of the greatest fights of this year. That's fight of the year candidate thus far for me. I don't know about you, but what did you think, Chris?
Oh, me? Oh, okay. I wasn't sure who you're talking to, but yeah, I mean, they just went at it. I mean, Justin Gaethje, I wasn't the biggest fan of his going in there. I thought he would get too sloppy at times. He would definitely get caught, but he puts on some fun fights, and this was one of them. I've definitely become more of a fan of his. He came out there and just went to town, especially in that first round and even later on, too. The only problem is that he definitely gets sloppy at times, leaves his chin out there, and gets caught with too many punches at times. And if he gets caught with the right punch, he could definitely go out, and I wouldn't be surprised by it. But if he tightens up his defense, this guy could be a top guy in the world at lightweight. And I'm talking about, can compete with top 5 UFC guys, because he has all the skills. He has a good striking offense. He has good wrestling. It's just that his defense leaves him susceptible to a lot of strikes. But he looked really good. He just came out there, fired at will, and was able to get takedowns. He did some weird-ass takedown from a rear naked choke setup, and it was funny to watch that. And then Palomino landed some good strikes, too. He had Gaethje a little bit rocked at points, but nothing too serious, and Gaethje dropped him a few times. And then those leg kicks at the end that would really finish that fight, there were some really heavy leg kicks that dropped Palomino at one point and then dropped him again with it and just kind of walked off and didn't even really want to finish it and just went after him, finished the fight. And I mean, Gaethje's looking better and better every time. If he tightens up that defense, I would not be surprised if he eventually would get signed by the UFC and could do some big things there.
He could, man. I mean, and he's
really good.
And he's 26. He's still got all the time in the world to really do big things in the promotion. Yeah. And man, the World Series of Fighting really got the hookup when it came to him. He's one of these fighters that really I believe he made his debut at the World Series of Fighting number 2, like their second ever event. Check that for me. I could be wrong. Maybe it was World Series of Fighting 3, but I don't know which one it was. But he's been there since near the beginning, and this was one of those things that we talked about, Jonas, where there's these certain fighters that just have something special, and that promotion needs to realize and market that, and they certainly can now. I mean, Gaethje is still undefeated. He's 14-0 now. And I believe only has one decision under the entire banner of World Series of Fighting. Barely has any decisions in his career in general. He's so fun to watch. He's a fun personality. He's young. And I believe, each time that Justin comes out and fights, I believe it's going to be one of their best events.
Yeah, I mean, I just got all the stats on Gaethje right here. I'm on the Shard Dog page. He debuted at World Series of Fighting 2, also fought at World Series of Fighting 3.
Oh, he fought at both of them. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he's obviously undefeated, 14-0. He has 2 decisions, 11 knockouts, and 1 submission.
God, see, man. I mean, it's really one of those rare cases where you get a guy as exciting as Gaethje that could just dominate guys. And you're right. And man, there are times when he's in there, he doesn't necessarily need to take as much punishment as he's taking in there. When he's as aggressive as he is, if he tightened up his boxing or just his movement in general and his footwork, he would be, even more dangerous than he already is. 14-0.
Dude, if he could keep his chin tucked and keep his hands up, he'd be more dangerous than he already is.
Well, I mean, it's also a matter of what is it? What's the word? Highlighting his striking in the sense that it could really improve his counter striking, and he would already. Oh yeah,
definitely. There's certain things he could definitely improve, but I'm just talking like.
Where does he train?
If he did 2 basic things.
Oh wow.
It would elevate his game a lot.
Yeah, he trains at the Grudge Training Center. I just realized, because I was just asking myself, where does he train? I wonder who he's training under. And he trains at the Grudge Training Center. Not a bad spot to train at. And that actually makes sense why Brendan Schaub's always talking about him now, because he trains with him, which I didn't know before. Yeah, big things coming up for Gaethje, and again, that was, for me, a Fight of the Year candidate. Jonas, what did you think of that fight in general?
Well, that fight was great.
Oh, yes.
Again, we talked about it earlier, but that fight got really, really, really crazy very early. I think they both expended a whole bunch of energy early on. So if that fight didn't end when it did, it could have got real sloppy. So I'm glad it ended when it did, personally. Not to say those guys are bad fighters, but that could have very easily been a fight that got sloppy and it would have ruined started off as a great fight. Nobody wants to see that happen.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been. It's interesting though, because it could also be 50-50. If that did happen, then who knows if maybe both of these guys decide to get their hunt Bigfoot on, and then just show nothing but heart and keep throwing leather. But Gaethje, being the guy that he is, of course, found that opening, took advantage, got the finish, and it's really looking like Gaethje will probably be running that division for a while moving forward. At the World Series of Fighting.
Gaethje is. I think Gaethje's special. I think he's really, really good.
Yeah, I've been saying that. After the Nick Newell fight, I was sold on him because he didn't buy up into any of that hype. He fought him like he was the number one pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Like he thought that the guy he was fighting was the number one pound-for-pound fighter in the world, and he wanted to shut that shit down. After the Newell fight, I was sold on him. And then, going into the Gallard fight, he looked great. And then, now, of course, this Palomino fight. Man, this is going to be one of those fights that we're going to be talking about for a while. I think, personally. It's a great weekend in MMA. There's another thing, too. I mean, not only for MMA fans, but for wrestling fans, as a press time, this was today, but for everybody listening right now, yesterday was WrestleMania 31. And very, very, not surprisingly, but in some odd affair, Ronda Rousey actually got herself in the ring there with The Rock and Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. Well, Jonas, I know you were watching it. What did you think when that happened?
Man, they make a lot of money for a lot of good reasons. And, that's, seeing Ronda in there didn't surprise me at all. Seeing The Rock in there, I really just wanted to see Rock and Triple H throw down one last time. Because as they said, that rivalry was great. That was one of my favorite rivalries. That's when I was really watching it heavily in my later teens, watching WWF, seeing The Rock and seeing Triple H and Kurt Angle and Stone Cold. All that stuff was awesome. And Ronda's just another celebrity. This is not the first time a pro wrestling promotion has used celebrity to market their product. So hey, I see nothing wrong with it as far as that goes.
Yeah, they've used combat fighters before. Hell, they even used Floyd Mayweather in a WrestleMania event at one point. Remember that? When he faced... Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, I haven't really been a fan of wrestling since I was in like 5th, 6th grade, maybe like a hardcore fan. Like I used to be so into it, but I kind of just grew out of it. But I mean, I did catch the Ronda thing, and I thought it was pretty funny that she straight up judo through Triple H. That was pretty fun.
I would have liked to have seen her throw Stephanie McMahon in an armbar. That would have been great.
Yeah, but I don't think Stephanie wants to get judo thrown, so I think that's why.
But I just, it would have been cool if she threw like a flying armbar on that chick and just like, and then you see Stephanie.
But I mean, it was cool. I mean, you get Ronda in there. She's obviously known as a big wrestling fan in general, and I mean, it was just cool to get her in there and do something. Apparently, Nick was saying she had pretty good mic work and everything, so why not? Fun.
Yeah, because for me, it wasn't like she was sounding like anything other than herself. You know what I mean?
She only said one thing.
Yeah, I mean, she just said, come in here and make me.
Dude, I mean, as long as it wasn't corny.
No, it wasn't. She didn't sound like anything other than herself.
So, but yeah, so I
I
just wouldn't complain about it because a lot of people get in there and they're, well, as long as it's not corny, just take it as it is.
What did Jonas say? Jonas, what did you say?
I'm just saying, I don't know where the whole thing about her having nice mic work comes from. She only said one thing.
Yeah, she said what? She said like two things.
So,
she said two things. One thing before Steph said, and then she said what was it? Get out of my ring. She's like, make me. Well. Yeah.
That's really it.
Yeah, but that's two things. You're saying she said one thing. You fibber. But you think we'll see her in there again? You think the WWE might be interested in having her get back in there like they did with Tyson or like they did with Floyd?
Unless they're talking about doing Tripp and Steph versus Rock and Ronda, I don't see that happening. That might be an episode of
who wouldn't like to see the Rock get back in there, you know?
Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, it's always fun.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Pro wrestling and MMA have always somewhat coincided. A lot of things that MMA used, drew back in the day, drew in an entertainment value was from pro wrestling. So
back in like Pride days of MMA. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Ronda was back in the ring, possibly. But I wouldn't expect anything out of it just yet.
Yeah, I was going. What was it? Who knows? I wouldn't mind seeing her go back in there, but with as busy as Ronda is, who knows? Probably not. But I mean, very fun Wrestlemania for anybody that watched.
She's fighting. Don't have a lot of time for other.
What's up?
Other things. I mean, she's doing so many movies. She's fighting. She probably doesn't have a lot of time for putting other things on her plate.
Probably not. With that being said, we're about an hour in. I know, Chris, you want to get out of here.
I'll stay on for the rest of it. I don't mind.
All right. Well, another thing.
That it's 1:30 in the morning my time, but we'll keep going.
What do you want to answer some questions, or did you have anything in mind that you wanted to discuss?
No, I think whatever you want to do, we can answer some fan questions.
Jonas, what about you? Did you have anything you wanted to bring into the center here?
What's about it?
I was asking Jonas if he had anything you wanted to bring to mind before.
Okay, yeah, go for it. Shoot.
If he did, I don't know if he does. If he doesn't, then we'll just go to fan questions.
Yeah, we can go to fan questions. I don't have anything right now.
All right. One from at James Wright on Twitter. He asked this, seeing as oh god, this is a weird question. He didn't even spell it right, considering he had only 140 characters. I'll try and read this as best I can. How do you see the welterweight division a year from now? He's spelling it with like digits and stuff. It's really annoying. How do you see the welterweight division in the UFC a year from now? Who do you see as champion? Well, welterweight has gotten so exciting these days, and I, for one, enjoy it. I think it's great. You've certainly got your high value guys in Robbie Lawler, Rory Hendricks, Matt Brown. I don't think we'll see Matt Brown there ever after the Hendricks loss. Losing 2 in a row, he's got a slump he's got to work on getting back from. Condit's kind of on the same boat, coming back from injuries, coming back from another slump himself. Has only won one in his last 4. Gonna fight Thiago Alves. There's a lot of interesting fights though at welterweight in general. There's a lot of exciting fighters like Brandon Thatch, Stephen Thompson, Henderson's in the fold now. Tyron Woodley is another one of those guys near the top. Eric Silva, you never know when that guy could decide to get on a streak. Who knows? A year from now, that's hard to think. I would think, okay, so Hendricks gets the next title shot. What comes after that? Who do you see being there in a year from now? I don't know. It's so for a year. I can only think about 6 months from now because that division is so, I wouldn't say clogged. It's actually really stacked, but it's just like you don't know who gets where. It depends on the fights that need to be made. Jonas, what do you think?
Yeah, welterweight. It's one of those situations where you got a whole bunch of great fighters that could all take it at this stage. There's nobody truly far beyond any of the other fighters. So, a year from now, who knows? Who knows who gets? I'm with you, man. I mean, it could be anybody at this stage. I mean, not anybody, but I'd say it could be any of, the top 5 at this stage.
It certainly could.
There's not one clear runaway front runner guy right now. There are favorites in specific matchup, but there's not one guy that I say beats everybody at this stage.
Plus, you want to know what? This title fight coming up, Robbie and Rory, it could. I mean, it's not like that's an easy fight to call. That's going to be a great fight because really, I think it could be split down the middle. Who sees who winning? Rory, since that loss to Robbie, has been on such a tear. And of course, Robbie has too. I mean, he fought Hendricks twice and won, or not twice. He fought Hendricks twice, beat Matt Brown, beat Ellenberger. Has gone like they've both gone on their own separate tears. And it's actually very surprising that Robbie's the underdog, going into a fight with a guy where he's the champ and it's against a guy he beat. It's really odd that the odds makers had him winning or have him losing. But it is a very close to call fight. Rory is still a youngster. I believe he's 24, 25, still so young, but still looking like a badass each time he gets in there now. The only bad performance I think he's ever had was actually in his loss, or not in his victory against Ellenberger, because he didn't do too much, but he still got the win. It was a weird fight, but I believe that in a 5-round fight that changes things too. Robbie's been in 5-round fights 3 times now. Rory, I believe, has never gone 5 rounds. I think that makes a big difference. I think that helps Robbie in the long run. And so with that, I think Robbie wins that fight. It really is telling how stacked the division is when you got a champion. You don't know how long he'll stay that way. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I gotta agree with both of you guys because in this division especially, it's all about matchups. It's taken some hits recently. We have Condit, he's up there, and he could definitely beat any of these guys at some point, aside from me. It's just about the matchups, but Condit has been out for a long time due to injury. We have Hector Lombard who popped positive, and he's going to be on the shelf, and then we have, what's his face?
Kelvin Gastelum. Yeah, unfortunately got pulled out from that division.
So many times, and he has to pop back up to middleweight. I could see him in a year from now. He'll probably be back at welterweight or even less.
That's his goal. He said he wants to go to middleweight, fight once or twice, no more than twice, and would like to ask for another shot at fighting at welterweight, kind of like Henry Cejudo.
I think he'll definitely be back at welterweight in a year's time, but it'll be interesting to see. Maya looks good, but I don't know if he can beat a lot of the guys above him. I don't know. It's just interesting to see because if obviously, as you were saying, Robbie being a 5-round fight, it helps him, and I think as we get closer to the fight, Robbie might become the favorite. But at this point, I'm not quite sure. But Rory, I could see either one of those guys winning that fight. To be honest, it just I think Rory's going to be very prepared for a 5-round fight. I won't be surprised that if he looks just as good as Robbie does in the later rounds, just because he comes well prepared for all of his fights. There's just no GSP in this division right now. There's no guy who can, as Jonas said, can beat everyone. And I could see Rory beating Robbie, but then I can see maybe Hendricks being able to beat Rory. So I'm not sure. I could definitely, if Rory's able to beat Robbie Lawler and Johnny Hendricks after that, if he has to fight him next, I could see Rory staying as the champion for a while because other than that, there's probably not a lot of guys who beat him in the division. We saw what he did against Tyron Woodley, which was really impressive. And I don't know. I don't know who will be champion in the year. I'll go out on a limb and say Rory McDonald if he's able to beat Robbie Lawler, but it could be any of those top guys.
Last thing too being also since that fight is a little over 3 months out, I would actually like to see Hendricks versus Woodley fight for #1 contendership of that belt. To fight the winner of that event, I think that's probably the best way to go. Considering
the only thing is you get into a little bit of a sticky situation there that you have the same guys fighting each other. Because if Robbie fights Woodley, that's a good fight to have. If that one,
Yeah, but you run the risk also of Hendricks winning and Robbie winning. But I think people would want to see that trilogy fight. Um, but you never know how in a year, by the end of this year how that rematch could look. I mean, this fight was what the Robbie Rory fight was what about a year and a half ago, or probably 2 years ago now, actually, almost 2 years ago. Yeah, I mean that's just kind of the thing is all these guys who have now made it to the top have somewhat near fought one another already. I mean Matt Brown's fought in Hendricks and Robbie's fought Rory and Hendricks, and Woodley's fought and has fought Rory, and it's just all back and forth, and so it depends, and it'd be very interesting to see which up and comers make it there in a year. One of the fighters I'm most excited about. That I love that's in the up and coming prospect title right now is Stephen Thompson. I would yeah. I mean he's on a 4 or 5 fight winning streak right now, and he seems like one of these guys.
His last loss was to Matt Brown.
His only loss was to Matt Brown, and even in that fight, while Matt Brown certainly won that, it was no question about it. He showed how tough he can be in getting in gritty fights with guys, and there's none grittier than Matt Brown. So, I would love to see Stephen Thompson at least in the top 10 in a year's time. That for me as a fan, that's what I would want to see.
I couldn't have picked a better guy. Honestly, that was great.
Yeah, Stephen Thompson.
Yeah, he's the guy. Fight I want to see, honestly, Stephen Thompson and Brandon Thatch. That wets my whistle.
That would be a good fight to watch. Or even if you threw Jordan Mean in the mix. There, that's another guy.
Yeah, he's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
He's not bad at all.
Yeah, no, there's definitely some guys who go in there. I mean, there's Wonder Boy, there's Thatch, there's me, and we can also see if Benson Henderson winds up staying at 70.
You want to know what's funny is he actually called out...
and he also called out Woodley recently.
Yeah, on Twitter.
That's the best matchup for him, I think. Yeah, I mean, if he gets that fight and wins it, puts him straight up the rankings. He'll be in probably the top 5 just by winning that fight. So there's a lot of interesting things that could happen. I mean, you're playing devil's advocate with that Woodley Hendricks matchup just in case, because you can have Woodley fighting. If Woodley winds up fighting Rory again after he just whooped him,
yeah,
and then you can have Hendricks wind up fighting Lawler again. So that's the only negative thing that really comes out of that. But aside from that, it's a really interesting division, and I can't wait to see where it's going to be in a year.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next question. From at Charlie Sheen PCO. What? Charlie Sheen what? Okay. Who would you say fights next for the light heavyweight title after Johnson and Jones? Who do you have for Johnson and Jones? Nick is not allowed to answer. Well, obviously this person listens. Well, who would be next for Johnson and Jones? Being that Johnson has put Alex out of contention, I would feel, after beating him.
Wait, what? What's the question?
He asked. The question was, who do we see fighting next for the title after Johnson Jones, and who do you see winning between Johnson and Jones? And he ended it with, Nick is not allowed to answer, which means he already knows what my answer would be.
All right, so I guess just answer that first part then.
Well, for me, yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out, honestly. It's not like there's a clear-cut guy on the top of my head for Johnson Jones. Obviously, I believe Johnson wins that fight. But, I mean, I would think maybe they'd give Jones the rematch, maybe. Depends on how that fight ends. But if between besides those two, it'd be really interesting because Johnson really kind of threw Gustafsson out of contention there, and DC, while he's still up there, is of course lost to Jones. Though I can see if he wins 1 or 2, gets a shot at Johnson. If it is Johnson, if Jones wins, then they wouldn't give it to him. I'd have to look at the rankings here. Jonas, what do you think?
Who's after the title fight?
Well, first, Johnson who do you think wins between Jones and Johnson and Jones, and then go ahead and answer that.
Who wins between Johnson and Jones?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. It's you're gonna hate me, Nick, but it's still too hard for me to pick against. It really is. It's too hard for me to pick against John Jones in that fight. It really is, man. I mean, I know Johnson has damn near the best chance anybody's ever had against John Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Just with the way what he brings, but John Jones just finds ways to win better than anybody, especially at 205.
Yeah.
So, dude, I don't know, man. John Jones is a winner, and that's just the truth about it.
Yeah, we're not talking for a while, Chris.
Yeah, you're not gonna like me so much either, but I'm gonna have to agree with Jones on that one. I'm gonna say John Jones.
I'm glad we're getting this on record.
I could see Anthony Johnson winning that fight, but I think John Jones is just, you can't pick against the guy because
I can do it all day.
To all the fights he's in, he winds up finding where the guy's weakest. Yeah, he finds where these guys are weakest. He just finds any intricate detail where he can beat someone, and then he beats them at that. And he'll even beat them at their own game. So, I mean, he could do what basically no one else can do, and just beats everyone basically everywhere, wherever he wants to, wherever he feels like they're weakest, even where they're strongest against some of these guys. So you never know what he's going to do. You never know his game plan going into a fight, but he always seems to come out on top and unscathed most of the time. So I got to say John Jones is going to win. And as for the next shot, it's really hard to call. I would like to see Jones, if he wins this one, he basically cleaned out most of the division, so I would like to see him go up and maybe fight Kane or whoever wins that fight between Kane and Werdum. But if he had to defend his title again, if Ryan Bader beats Daniel Cormier, which I doubt, but you can give him Bader if he wins that fight. And I don't know who else. I can't really see anyone else getting a fight right after the next win. I mean, I don't know if Rashad Evans has a fight, but that's all I could see. That's all I really
Rashad has an ACL injury, so he's out for.
If OSA Pro didn't blow it against Bader, that would have been your guy. He could put it together a couple more wins, but
Bader's won now 4
in
a row.
Wall. I think he's reached a wall, so we can't give it to OSP right now.
Nah, plus, and the reason Bader does make sense is because he's won 4 in a row. If he does beat DC, which that would certainly be a top of the mountain kind of win. Cormier having fought for the belt, having only lost to John Jones, that would certainly be a fight worthy enough to give him a title fight, especially with how.
Bader ended the OSP streak. He beat Phil Davis, and he would have beaten. He would have beaten DC if he wins that one.
So those are three. That's a pretty nice resume going into a title fight.
Absolutely.
So certainly he's certainly there, and I guess I would have to agree. Not with your picks in the title fight, but can't pick against Jones. I can pick against him all day. Watch me. I've explained left and right how I know that, or how I feel Johnson can win that fight. So I don't feel like I don't need to get into all that again. But yeah, I would feel if Bader beats DC. But what if he doesn't beat DC? That's the question though. Like, they would be in real trouble then. Honestly, I mean, maybe they would just give Gustafsson a tune-up and then give him the fight. I don't know. I mean.
Yeah.
If Jones wins, I don't think it'd be as enticing if Johnson wins, because he got knocked out in the first round by him.
Yeah, I mean, I would just like to see him go up to heavyweight and maybe pursue some fights there, or even just fight straight up, with Kane or Werdum.
I'd like to see him fight a couple contenders first, but yeah, you're right. If he did fight for the title, how big of a fight that would be! Oh.
I mean, the only reason it would be good to see him fight contenders is if he plans on staying at heavyweight.
Well, yeah. I'm not. Well, I don't think he would just drop the title. I think he would do what Silva did and go up there and fight once or twice in between every few title defenses if he's able to beat Johnson.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We'll see.
I mean,
Yeah,
if he just went up there and had the one super fight, I wouldn't mind that either. But he doesn't really have anyone in his division to fight unless Bader wins that fight.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's he's got the same issue Aldo somewhat has, is that he's beaten so many guys in his division. Yeah, definitely. That was a good question. Last question. Oh crap! I deleted it.
Any other fan questions?
Yeah, there was one, but I accidentally moved it. Hold on, it's loading. If it would just come up. This will probably be the last one here. What do you think of the? Never mind. That's kind of the similar question as we got asked. So I'll go on to one of our previous ones that we never answered. Hold on. One sec. All right. I feel like we've answered this one before. Okay. Who do you see from Bellator or World Series of Fighting that could go into the UFC and become a credible threat to the title?
That question's definitely been asked.
Has it? Yeah, I feel like it has. Yeah, well, I would say Gaethje for lightweight and maybe Paul Daly for welterweight. Maybe. I mean, that's very maybe-ish. But
so Gaethje from World Series.
Yeah.
And Daly for welter.
Yeah, well, actually, I would actually like if Jessica Aguilar just stopped playing silly and came to the UFC and tried her hand in the strawweight division. That would actually be the most interesting person to switch from a division as a champion and fight for the title immediately off the bat, because Jessica Aguilar is always crediting herself as one of the best, if not the best, 115 pound fighter in the world. And strawweight certainly could use a name like her to come in and fight for the belt immediately, especially her being, in my opinion, a better grappler than Carla and actually can hold her own in the stand-up. So against Young Jacek, that would be a really nice matchup to watch. And then I think Gaethje could really give him like 1 or 2 years and then put him in the UFC. That'd be a scary, credible dude who could easily work his way to a title fight. I'm telling you. Against Khabib though, or even Pettis maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see. I know you're really high on Khabib, and that's the funny thing about the lightweight division is right now, its champion is certainly had a nice victory in his win, but now may possibly face a guy who beat him just about a year ago. And so. Lightweight's very interesting right now, and could definitely use a guy like Gaethje coming in, because after Khabib, who would be after if and this is assuming he beats Donald Cerrone, in which I actually would like to see Cerrone win, but even no matter who wins that one, who would be after Khabib or Cerrone, like who would be after that? Any ideas?
Could make the argument for Edson Barboza if he gets it together.
Edson Barboza just lost to Michael Johnson.
He lost to Michael? Yeah, he did lose to Michael Johnson.
Yeah, that was earlier in the year. And could be interesting. Where's Miles Jury just lost to Cerrone. Maybe Johnson, depending on who he can depending on his next few victories. He should really get busy and win some more fights, and then his name could be in there. I know he's ranked. I think he's like number 10 right now. Or probably higher, because I believe when he beat Edson was like 6 or 7, and he was 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be higher. That's certainly a name that could go in there. And I can't think of anybody else from Bellator that could go into the division of the UFC and make any noise other than maybe Paul Daly. Chris? Well, Jonas, go ahead. Well, let Jonas answer.
I'd say Liam McGeary would be a great pickup for the UFC.
Yeah, certainly.
But Bellator needs to right him as long as they can.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, this is a hypothetical.
Bellator needs him a lot more than the UFC does. So.
Of course, Bellator needs everybody that they have more than the UFC does. So, I mean, the only reason they would ever give anybody up, as well as World Series of Fighting, is money.
Yep.
but that's the same reason to keep these guys. They long term can make them a lot of money, depending on how they market their careers. And we've talked about it before, how they're unfortunate in not promoting certain fighters or certain champions. Like Will Brooks is probably the best example, where they really need to get on that, especially for a guy as fun to watch as Will Brooks is. Especially in one of their most exciting divisions, which is lightweight. That being said, that's all I got. I would have to get more questions somewhere else, which I don't want to do. So I think we could close this one out. That's we've had.
What happened? I didn't answer that question. Well, I couldn't hear what you were saying.
Oh well, what I mean, well, did you answer the question? Well, the question was, who do you see coming from Bellator or World Series of Fighting that could make a credible threat to a title in the UFC?
I mean, there's a few guys. I mean, there's Justin Gaethje we were talking about earlier. You were saying Liam McGarry. Most of the guys you named, really, there's not like too many of them out there, but there are fighters that probably aren't going to be leaving their organization anytime soon. And what you guys were saying about lightweight in the UFC, I mean, aside from Michael Johnson, there aren't too many contenders, but if Tony Ferguson gets a big name fight and he winds up winning that, he's a dark horse contender.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about him.
The winner of Iaquinta Masvidal, if one of those guys can get a big fight after that, they could step up. I mean, we still got a while left until the Cerrone Khabib winner fights Dos Anjos. So if we have some time there where we could see one of those guys or even both of those guys step up to higher ranks in the division.
Certainly, yeah. Gilbert Melendez, Eddie Alvarez fighting next. Alvarez, if he wins, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a short road to a title. Yeah, Michael Jordan. Michael Johnson is ranked number 6. Surprisingly, Benson is still ranked at lightweight, but I guess they're kind of holding the door for him, maybe thinking he might come back to lightweight. So yeah, who knows what could happen there? And Tony Ferguson's at number 13, but having won 5 straight, I think if he wins like 1 or 2 more, he's right there. You're right. And that's another exciting guy to watch. I wonder who he gets next. I would actually think maybe he gets a main card slot at 188 maybe in Mexico. We'll see. That being said, I feel like it's maybe we can close out on that note right there. Good podcast. I liked it. It's we always enjoy having you on, Jonas. You're the man. Chris, thanks for helping. I actually want to again say
Jonas, thanks again for coming on, man.
Yes.
Absolutely, man.
Certainly.
Absolutely.
Anybody else that we've been trying to get a hold of, certain fighters such as Ryan Couture, Francis Carman, a lot of other guys, we would certainly enjoy having you on. Moving forward, I can't wait. Hopefully we can get that done. Again, people, for anybody that wants to get us on the go, the MMA Discussion Podcast is available on iTunes and Stitcher. Again, if you have storage issues on your phone, maybe you got only 8 gigs and you only got a gig left, definitely go with Stitcher. Stitcher's the way to go. The iTunes podcast thing will just take up all your storage without asking for permission. It's annoying, I know it. So just go with Stitcher. It's certainly the best way to go. And of course, if you really want to get to toning those abs, man, get that flex belt. If you want to know how it works, go on check it out. Of course, if you're trying to get the best Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gear, 10% off, promo code Sports of Anarchy 10. That's the way to go, man. I am actually investing in some myself. I gave it a gander the other day, and I'm certainly going to get me some stuff from there using our own hookup, and it actually works. So get it done. Episode 29, we're locking this shit down. Say goodbye, guys.
Thank you, and good night.
Yeah. Thank you guys again for listening. Very soon, I know I've been promising for this a bit, we're going to try a test podcast, something small on Google Hangouts, try to get the video up, and it's past 2 a.m. my time, so I'm ready to go to sleep.
Go to sleep. Nobody cares.
Alright, we're out.
We're out. Later.